The smile they offer you feels like a thin coat of ice over a dark, churning ocean. You sense it, don't you? That unsettling disconnect between the pleasantries exchanged and the cold current underneath. You're here because you felt that chill, that lingering doubt after a seemingly friendly interaction. You've wondered about the truth behind the polite nods and agreeable murmurs. Today, we're not just wondering. We're dragging those truths out into the harsh light. We're dissecting the unsettling reality of why they're nice to your face, but secretly can't stand you. This isn't about paranoia, it's about perception. It's about arming yourself with the brutal clarity needed to navigate a world where what you see is often a carefully curated performance, not genuine sentiment. We will expose the raw, uncomfortable reasons behind this duplicity, not to make you bitter, but to make you stronger, more discerning, and ultimately immune to the subtle poisons of insincere interactions. Prepare yourself, because the answers aren't always comfortable, but they are always liberating. Let's tear away the first veil. One of the most common, yet often overlooked reasons for this infuriating charade is what I call the mask of perceived weakness. They are nice to your face because, quite frankly, they don't respect you enough to be anything else. They see you as non-threatening, perhaps even a bit of a pushover, someone easily managed or whose opinion carries little weight. In their calculus, genuine engagement, robust debate, or even honest confrontation with you isn't worth the effort. Politeness in this context isn't a sign of respect, it's a symptom of dismissal. It's the social equivalent of patting a child on the head. There, that's nice. Think about it, who do we expend emotional energy on? People who matter to us, people whose reactions have consequences, people who challenge us or whose respect we crave. If someone perceives you as lacking agency, as someone whose disapproval has no teeth or whose contributions are negligible, then a superficial layer of niceness is the most efficient way to interact. It costs them nothing. It keeps the social wheels greased without requiring any genuine investment. Consider Mark, a mid-level analyst in a bustling marketing firm. Mark is competent but quiet. He avoids office politics, rarely voices dissenting opinions in meetings, and often takes on extra work without complaint, hoping his diligence will be noticed. His colleagues are always friendly. They greet him with smiles, ask about his weekend, and offer token words of encouragement. Yet Mark is consistently overlooked for promotions. His ideas are often subtly dismissed or co-opted without credit, and he's rarely invited to the informal after-work gatherings where real alliances are forged. The niceness he receives is a smokescreen. His colleagues perceive his quietness not as thoughtful reservation, but as a lack of ambition or assertiveness. His willingness to absorb extra work isn't seen as team spirit, but as an inability to set boundaries. They are nice because he's useful in a limited way, and crucially, because they don't see him as a player, a competitor, or someone whose genuine negative opinion they need to worry about. He's a known quantity, predictable and unthreatening. Their niceness is the bland wallpaper in the room of their indifference. The brutal truth here is that their niceness can be a subtle indicator that you are not projecting strength, that you are not seen as someone to be reckoned with. This isn't about being aggressive or unpleasant. It's about presence, about the unspoken message your demeanor, your words, and your actions send. If that message is, "I can be safely ignored," then polite dismissal is often the response. What's the fallout of living under this mask? You become marginalized. Opportunities pass you by. Your voice is muted not by overt censorship, but by the soft, suffocating blanket of condescending politeness. You internalize this treatment, and your own self-perception can begin to erode. You start to believe you are insignificant. So what's the antidote? First, you must cultivate an undeniable presence. This starts with radical self-assessment. Are you consistently deferring? Are you avoiding healthy conflict? Are your contributions clear, concise, and backed by conviction? Stop being so agreeable if it means sacrificing your integrity or your voice. Learn to say no cleanly and without excessive apology. When you speak, speak with authority, not arrogance. Let your competence shine through your actions and your words. Second, understand that true respect is earned, often through demonstrating that you value your own time and perspective. Begin to selectively withdraw your automatic agreeableness. Offer polite but firm pushback when warranted. Present your ideas with the expectation they will be seriously considered, and if they are not, seek to understand why with directness, not accusation. Their niceness might initially falter, replaced by surprise or even slight discomfort. This is a good sign. It means they are recalibrating their perception of you. They are beginning to see that managing you with superficial pleasantries is no longer a viable option. You are signaling that you are not to be underestimated. This isn't about demanding they like you, it's about demanding they respect you. And when respect enters the equation, the nature of their niceness, if it remains, will fundamentally change. Or it will dissipate, revealing the truth, which is always more valuable than a comfortable lie. Next, we confront a darker, more volatile reason, the facade of fear and envy. Sometimes the niceness you encounter is a carefully constructed shield. They are nice to your face not because they underestimate you, but because, on some level, they are intimidated by you, or worse, consumed by envy. Your strength, your talent, your confidence, your success, even your authenticity, can act as a glaring spotlight on their own perceived shortcomings, insecurities, or unfulfilled ambitions. This creates a deeply uncomfortable internal conflict for them. Openly expressing their negativity would expose their envy, their fear, making them vulnerable. So they opt for the safer route, superficial congeniality. This isn't the niceness of dismissal. It's the niceness of self-preservation and subtle sabotage. They might smile to your face, praise your achievements with hollow words, but behind your back the whispers begin. The subtle digs, the attempts to undermine your credibility, the faint praise that damns. Their niceness is a recon mission, a way to keep you close, to monitor you, perhaps to gather information they can later use to their advantage, or simply to ensure you don't perceive them as a threat while they harbor their resentment. Imagine Sarah, a brilliant software engineer who consistently delivers outstanding results and has a natural charisma. A colleague, Tom, is technically proficient but lacks Sarah's innovative spark and people skills. Publicly, Tom is always supportive of Sarah. "Great presentation, Sarah. Amazing insight, as always." Yet in private conversations with their manager, Tom subtly questions Sarah's team play, suggests her ideas might be too ambitious or impractical, or hints that her success is due more to luck than skill. He volunteers to help Sarah on projects, which often turns into an attempt to control the narrative or take undue credit. His niceness to her face is a strategic performance designed to mask his corrosive envy and his fear that her rising star will eclipse his own. He can't openly attack her because her competence is undeniable, and doing so would make him look petty. So he smiles, he supports, and he waits for opportunities to sow doubt. The brutal truth here is that your very existence can be an affront to someone else's ego. Their niceness isn't an olive branch, it's camouflage. They don't genuinely wish you well, they wish you were less so they could feel more. This is a deeply human, though deeply unflattering, trait. The danger of misinterpreting this kind of niceness is significant. You might let your guard down, share vulnerabilities, or trust someone who is actively, albeit covertly, working against your interests. You might be lulled into a false sense of security, blind to the undercurrents of resentment. How do you navigate this treacherous terrain? First, develop a keen eye for incongruence. Pay attention to the mismatch between words, tone, body language, and subsequent actions. Does their praise feel genuine, or is it a little too effusive, a little too quick? Do their eyes match their smile? Do their actions align with their supportive words, or do they subtly hinder or take credit? Second, protect your inner circle. Be highly selective about who you confide in and whose advice you truly value. Not everyone who smiles at you is your friend. Third, continue to excel, but do so with humility and a focus on collaboration where possible. Don't dim your light to make others comfortable, but also don't needlessly flaunt your successes. Sometimes, quietly and consistently outperforming is the best response. Fourth, document everything if you suspect sabotage, especially in a professional context. Keep records of contributions, communications, and any instances of undermining behavior. This isn't about paranoia, it's about preparedness. Finally, from a stoic perspective, understand that their envy is their problem, their burden to carry. It's a reflection of their inner state, not a judgment on your worth. Your focus should remain on your own path, your own excellence, and your own character. Let their hidden bitterness be their own prison. Your freedom lies in recognizing the facade for what it is and refusing to let it derail you or poison your spirit. Let's move to another pervasive reason for this false front: the currency of superficial convenience. Many people are profoundly conflict-averse. They will go to extraordinary lengths to avoid direct confrontation, uncomfortable conversations, or any situation that might create social awkwardness or ripple the calm surface of their daily interactions. Their niceness to your face, even when they secretly can't stand you, is often a simple calculation. Faking pleasantness is easier, less messy, and requires less emotional energy than being honest. Honesty in their eyes carries a potential social cost, an argument, a strained relationship being labeled as difficult or negative. Superficial niceness, on the other hand, is cheap social currency. This isn't necessarily malicious in the same way as fear-driven or envy-driven duplicity. It's more a product of social conditioning, a lack of assertive communication skills, or simply a prioritization of personal comfort over authentic expression. They don't want to deal with your potential reaction to their true feelings, so they opt for the path of least resistance. They'd rather swallow their annoyance, their disagreement, or their dislike, and offer a polite smile than engage in a conversation that might require courage and emotional labor. Consider a neighborhood scenario. Janice finds her neighbor, David, to be incredibly overbearing. David frequently stops Janice for long, unsolicited monologues about his opinions on everything, offers unsolicited advice on her gardening, and his music is often a bit too loud. Janice inwardly cringes every time she sees him, yet every encounter is met with a strained smile from Janice. "Oh, hi, David. Yes, lovely weather. Oh, that's interesting." She complains extensively about David to her husband, but would never dream of telling David directly that his behavior is intrusive. Why? Because the thought of that conversation, David's potential defensiveness, the awkwardness, the potential for ongoing neighborhood tension, is far more daunting to Janice than the cumulative annoyance of his behavior. Her niceness is purely a strategy of avoidance, a way to expedite the interaction and retreat back into her comfort zone. David, oblivious, probably thinks Janice is perfectly friendly. The brutal truth here is that their niceness is a testament to their unwillingness to engage authentically, often because they lack the tools or the fortitude for genuine communication. It's a passive approach to managing relationships they find taxing or unrewarding. They choose the illusion of harmony over the potential discomfort of truth. The consequence for you is a landscape of murky, unreliable relationships. You never quite know where you stand. You might invest time and energy into connections that are built on a foundation of polite fiction. Furthermore, If you are someone who values directness, this can be incredibly frustrating, leaving you feeling like you're interacting with ghosts. What's the path forward? First, you must model the behavior you wish to see. Be direct but kind in your own communications. Show others that honest conversations don't have to be destructive. When you have an issue, address it respectfully and constructively. Second, learn to recognize the signs of conflict avoidance. The overly agreeable person who never offers a counter-opinion, the one whose smile never quite reaches their eyes during a difficult topic, the one who is quick to change the subject when things get real, these are often indicators. Third, don't force intimacy or authenticity where it's clearly not welcomed or reciprocated. You cannot make someone be genuine if they are committed to superficiality. Accept that some relationships will remain at this surface level, and that's okay. Conserve your energy for those who are willing to meet you in a place of honesty. Fourth, practice emotional discernment. If you sense a disconnect, don't immediately internalize it as your fault. Consider that it might be their discomfort, their inability to be forthright. Finally, a stoic approach would encourage you to be unperturbed by this. You cannot control another's preference for comfort over truth. You can control your own commitment to living authentically and seeking out relationships that are built on a more solid footing. Let them have their superficial peace. You seek the strength that comes from genuine connection, even if it's rarer to find. Now we must turn the mirror inward, for this next reason is perhaps the most uncomfortable, yet potentially the most transformative to understand. The unspoken indictment of your blind spots. Sometimes they are nice to your face, but secretly can't stand you because of your behavior. Your actions, your words, your habits, or your general demeanor might be genuinely off-putting, arrogant, oblivious, inconsiderate, or grating. And the niceness you receive is a form of passive protest, a silent rebuke from people who, for various reasons, don't feel they can or should tell you directly. They might perceive you as unapproachable, unreceptive to feedback, too powerful, or simply not worth the emotional battle of trying to enlighten you. So they smile, they nod, and they privately fume or ridicule. This is a bitter pill to swallow. It's far easier to blame others for their duplicity than to consider that we might be contributing to, or even causing, the negative sentiment hidden behind their polite facade. We all have blind spots, aspects of our personality or behavior that we are unaware of but that are glaringly obvious to others. If you consistently find yourself in situations where you sense this disconnect, it's time for some serious, unflinching self-reflection. Think of Alex, a team leader who is undeniably intelligent and driven, but also incredibly domineering in meetings. Alex frequently interrupts others, dismisses ideas with a curt that won't work without full explanation, and rarely gives positive feedback, assuming good work is just expected. To Alex's face, team members are deferential, agreeing quickly and avoiding eye contact when Alex is on a roll. They offer polite, "Yes, Alex," or "Good point, Alex." Secretly, they resent Alex's autocratic style, feel demoralized, and discuss their frustrations extensively amongst themselves. They don't confront Alex because Alex holds a position of power, and past attempts by others to offer feedback were met with defensiveness. So they opt for superficial compliance, a niceness that masks deep-seated frustration and a lack of true respect. Alex, meanwhile, might mistake this compliance for agreement and effective leadership, completely oblivious to the toxic undercurrent. The brutal truth here is that you might be the architect of the very disdain you're sensing. Their niceness isn't just about them, it's a reaction to you. It's a sign that people have given up on trying to reach you authentically. The cost of this obliviousness is immense. You stunt your own growth because you're not receiving the feedback necessary for improvement. You foster resentment and disengagement in those around you. You operate in a bubble of false affirmation, making poor decisions based on inaccurate social data. Ultimately, you undermine your own effectiveness and relationships. So how do you uncover and address these blind spots? This requires courage and humility. First, actively solicit honest feedback from people you trust to be candid, and then this is crucial, listen without defensiveness. Make it safe for them to tell you the hard truths. Ask specific questions. Is there anything I do in meetings that makes it difficult for others to contribute? Or how does my communication style come across to you? Second, pay close attention to nonverbal cues. Are people consistently avoiding eye contact, sighing subtly, or tensing up when you speak? These can be indicators of unspoken discomfort. Third, reflect on past interactions where you sense this disconnect. What were your actions? What was your contribution to the dynamic? Keep a journal if it helps. Fourth, consider working with a coach or mentor who can provide objective observations about your interaction style. Fifth, practice empathy. Try to see yourself from the other person's perspective. How would you feel if someone treated you the way you treat others? This isn't about self-flagellation. It's about self-awareness leading to constructive change. The Stoic virtue of wisdom involves understanding oneself, flaws and all. Facing your own shortcomings with courage and a commitment to improve is a mark of true strength. When you begin to address these blind spots, you'll find that the niceness you receive starts to feel more genuine, because it will be rooted in authentic respect, not frustrated tolerance. Let's delve into a more calculated and often more cynical reason for this behavior: the strategic calculation of hidden agendas. In this scenario, the niceness you encounter is not born of weakness, fear, convenience, or even a reaction to your blind spots. Instead, it is a deliberate strategic tool employed by individuals who want something from you. Their pleasant demeanor, their attentiveness, their apparent friendliness, it's all part of a calculated campaign to gain your trust, extract information, secure your cooperation, or position themselves for future leverage. This is niceness as a Trojan horse. These individuals are often adept social chameleons. They can mirror your interests, validate your opinions, and make you feel seen and understood. But underneath this carefully crafted exterior lies a purely transactional motive. You are not a person to them, but a resource, a stepping stone, or a pawn in their own game. The niceness will often last precisely as long as you are useful, or until they have obtained what they were seeking. Once your utility expires, or if you fail to deliver on their unspoken expectations, the mask can drop with alarming speed, revealing the cold calculation beneath. Consider the case of Liam, a new employee who is incredibly charming and complimentary to Susan, a senior manager in a different department but one known for her influence within the company. Liam frequently stops by Susan's office to chat, praises her leadership, asks for her wisdom on various company matters, and makes a point of remembering small personal details she's shared. Susan, initially flattered, starts to feel a genuine connection. However, Liam subtly steers these conversations towards upcoming high-profile projects, key decision-makers, and potential openings in Susan's department. Once Liam successfully uses information gleaned from Susan, and perhaps even a subtle endorsement from her, which she gave thinking she was mentoring a bright young man, to secure a coveted position, his frequent visits and effusive praise dramatically decrease. The niceness was an investment, and the dividend has been paid. Susan is left feeling used and foolish. The brutal truth here is that some people view relationships entirely through the lens of personal gain. Their affability is a means to an end. They are playing a long game, and you might just be a piece on their board. This is not to say that all networking or instrumental kindness is duplicitous. but there's a distinct line between mutually beneficial professional courtesy and manipulative charm deployed for a hidden, one-sided agenda. The danger in being ensnared by this type of niceness is that you can be manipulated into making decisions that are not in your best interest, or that compromise your integrity. You can waste valuable time and emotional energy on someone who has no genuine regard for you. How do you protect yourself from such calculated insincerity? First, cultivate a healthy skepticism, especially when confronted with excessive or unearned flattery, particularly from someone you don't know well or who seems to have a lot to gain from your favor. Genuine connection builds over time. It's rarely instant and overwhelming. Second, be observant of patterns. Does their interest in you seem to coincide with times when you are in a position to offer them something? Do they ask more questions about your resources, connections, or influence than about you as a person? Third, maintain strong personal and professional boundaries. Don't be too quick to divulge sensitive information or offer significant favors before a solid foundation of trust has been established. Fourth, test the waters. If you suspect an ulterior motive, try subtly shifting the conversation away from topics that benefit them, or politely decline a small, low-stakes request. Their reaction can be very telling. A genuinely interested person will adapt. A manipulator may become impatient or lose interest. Fifth, trust your intuition. That nagging feeling that something is off, even if you can't articulate why, is often your subconscious picking up on subtle cues of insincerity. Don't dismiss it. Finally, remember the Stoic principle of focusing on your own actions and intentions. You cannot control whether someone else chooses to be manipulative, but you can control your own discernment, your boundaries, and your refusal to be easily swayed by superficial charm. Value substance over style, both in yourself and in others. Our final exploration takes us into the realm of social dynamics, the echo chamber of external influence. Sometimes, the reason someone is nice to your face, but secretly can't stand you, has less to do with their direct, personal assessment of you, and more to do with the powerful sway of group opinion or the influence of a key figure within their social or professional circle. They might personally be indifferent towards you, or even find you perfectly agreeable, but if the prevailing sentiment within their valued group is negative, they will often conform to that negativity in private while maintaining a polite, non-committal facade in your presence. This is the power of social proof and the fear of social exclusion at work. People are often reluctant to go against the grain, especially if it means risking their own standing within a group they depend on for support, identity, or advancement. Their niceness to you is a way to avoid direct conflict with you, while their private agreement with the group's negative sentiment is a way to maintain their allegiance and belonging with them. They become a mirror reflecting the group's dislike, rather than an individual expressing their own genuine feelings. Imagine a scenario in a tight-knit creative team. A new member, Chloe, joins the team. Chloe is talented and enthusiastic, but her working style is different from the established norms. One influential senior member, Mark, finds Chloe's approach disruptive and subtly begins to voice criticisms about her to other team members. Soon, a narrative forms. Chloe isn't a team player. Chloe is difficult. Other team members, even those who initially had positive or neutral interactions with Chloe, start to echo Mark's sentiments in their private conversations to stay in his good graces and maintain group cohesion. However, when interacting directly with Chloe, they remain outwardly pleasant, offer smiles, and collaborate on tasks. They don't want to be the one to create an awkward scene or openly contradict the group's unspoken consensus, even if their personal feelings about Chloe are more nuanced or even positive. Chloe senses the coolness, the lack of genuine warmth, but the surface interactions remain nice. The brutal truth here is that you might be judged not on your own merits, but by the prevailing biases or political currents within a specific social ecosystem. Their behavior towards you is less about you and more about their need to navigate their own social landscape successfully. They are prioritizing their social survival or advancement within their chosen group over authentic interaction with you. The consequence of this is that you might be unfairly isolated or marginalized, struggling against an invisible tide of disapproval that you can't directly address because it's never openly expressed to you. It creates an environment of distrust and can be incredibly demoralizing. What's the strategy here? First, be aware of group dynamics. Observe who holds influence, what the dominant narratives are, and how individuals behave both within the group and one-on-one with you. Discrepancies can be revealing. Second, try to build individual connections where possible, away from the group's immediate influence. Sometimes people are more candid or fair-minded in a one-on-one setting. Third, focus on your performance and integrity. While you can't always control group narratives, consistently demonstrating competence, fairness, and professionalism can, over time, challenge negative perceptions or at least highlight the bias of those perpetuating them. Fourth, if you identify a key influencer who seems to be driving the negative sentiment, consider whether a direct, respectful conversation with that person is possible or advisable. This is risky and requires careful judgment, but sometimes clearing the air with the source can shift the dynamic. However, be prepared for it not to work or even to backfire. Fifth, and perhaps most importantly from a Stoic standpoint, cultivate your own internal validation. If you know you are acting with integrity and to the best of your ability, the opinions of a swayed group, while potentially impactful in practical terms, should not define your self-worth. Seek out or build your own tribe, people who value authenticity and judge you on your individual character, not on groupthink. Sometimes the best response to an echo chamber is to find a space where your own voice can be clearly heard and genuinely received. We've journeyed through some uncomfortable truths today, exploring the shadows behind the polite smiles and agreeable nods. We've seen how perceived weakness, fear, and envy, the pursuit of superficial convenience, your own unacknowledged blind spots, calculated hidden agendas, and the pressure of external influence can all lead to that unsettling reality. They're nice to your face, but secretly can't stand you. The purpose of this excavation was not to foster cynicism or paranoia. It was to arm you with radical awareness. Understanding these dynamics is the first step towards navigating the complex world of human interaction with greater wisdom, strength, and resilience. It's about trading blissful ignorance for empowering clarity. The key takeaway is not to become a detective, scrutinizing every interaction for hidden malice. That path leads to exhaustion and distrust. Instead, the goal is to cultivate a discerning spirit, an ability to differentiate between genuine warmth and hollow politeness, between authentic connection and strategic performance. More importantly, this knowledge empowers you to focus on what you can control. You can control your own authenticity. You can strive to be a person of integrity whose actions align with their values. You can work on your own blind spots, becoming more self-aware and receptive to constructive feedback. You can choose to develop unshakable self-respect so that your worth is not dependent on the fickle or insincere approval of others. You can cultivate emotional resilience so that the discovery of duplicity stings less and teaches more. You can choose to invest your precious time and energy in relationships that are built on mutual respect and genuine regard, and to gracefully disengage from those that are clearly not. The Stoics taught that we should be indifferent to indifferent things. The hidden, negative opinions of those who operate from a place of fear, envy, or calculation are ultimately indifferent to your true worth and your chosen path. Let their secret disdain be their own burden. Your energy is better spent building your character, pursuing your purpose, and fostering connections with those who are capable of genuine reciprocity. So the call to action is this: take these insights and use them not to build walls, but to build better foundations. Sharpen your perception, strengthen your character, demand authenticity first from yourself and then seek it in others. Understand that not everyone will like you, and that's not only okay, it's inevitable if you're living a life of consequence. The price of being liked by everyone is often the sacrifice of your true self. Refuse to pay it. Walk forward with open eyes, a strong spine, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can handle the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. The world is full of masks. Learn to see the faces behind them, and more importantly, learn to honor the integrity of your own.